If you had told me years ago that I would not be a touring musician, I would have thought you were crazy. Music was my life. But today, instead of traveling to perform music, I travel to teach people about soil and how to be advocates for regenerative agriculture. So how did that happen? Trust me, my wife also wants to know because she thought she married a musician. But two things happened that changed the course of my life forever. The first thing that happened was I had a dream. And in this dream, I was an old man living in a refugee camp in Brazil. Global climate change had wreaked havoc on the world. Billions of people dead, billions more misplaced. And it's the middle of the night, and I'm sleeping in this refugee camp, and my granddaughter wakes me up. And she sneaks me through a hole in the fence that she found, and the two of us walk throughout the night. And as the dawn approaches, we come over the crest of this hill, and the city lays in ruin in front of us, completely destroyed. And my granddaughter looks up at me, and she has tears streaming down her face, and she says, "Why did you let this happen?" And I didn't have an answer. I woke from that dream and I knew that I could not be that old man. The second thing that happened was I was so fortunate to find an answer. In a 4-hour lecture by a soil expert from Australia named Graham Sate, I got a completely new view. And up until that point, I thought I knew most of what there was to know about the big issues and crises facing humanity, climate change. And in reality, as optimistic of an activist as I was becoming more and more apathetic every day because I didn't see any solutions that matched the gravity of the situations we were facing. But what I got from Graham was that we can do this. We can solve humanity's biggest crises: water, climate, food, extinction, because we can build back healthy soil faster than we ever thought possible. We can regrow healthy soil by adopting regenerative agriculture, which means we can restore fertility. We can replenish clean water, fresh water sources. We can repopulate species on the brink of extinction, and we can reverse global warming. All of this because plants take carbon, that's a problem up here currently, and pump it out of their roots into the ground to feed microbes who build healthy soil. So the biggest carbon sink and this big solution to pretty much everything. And I was like, why didn't I know about this? And it turned out, not many folks did either. So here was this biggest idea whose time has come, and frankly, there was nothing more important to commit my life to. So that day when Graham told us, 2 or 3 of us decided that we would dedicate our lives to spreading this message. And a year later, our nonprofit Kiss the Ground was born. And since then, we've been working to amplify the momentum of this movement by creating short media, creating farmer training programs, leadership programs, training thousands of soil advocates around the world, creating curriculum to educate young people, and working with policy, and also creating a book and now a movie that's coming out in 2020. And the good news is Graham was right. Over the past 7 years, the world has been catching on. We're looking at the IPCC report. It came out saying restoring soil is critical to mitigating climate. Countless articles nearly every week now bringing up regenerative agriculture as a solution. And presidential candidates putting this into their platforms for their plans for climate, for risk mitigation, and for rural development. And the cool thing is, this is a nonpartisan solution. We call it the biggest common ground cause of our time. So, regenerative agriculture is starting to be included as a major solution. But the point of this talk, really, is not that building back healthy soil by adopting regenerative agriculture can save the planet, which it can. If you want to talk to me about it later, I can talk about it for days on end. But the point of this talk is about the root of the problem, which is not allowing us to adopt solutions like regenerative agriculture. And I call it sustainable think. And sustainable think is killing us. We have the ability to work with nature to rebuild, repair, regrow, and replenish. So why are we talking about sustainability? We can and should be talking about regenerative ability. When we look at the words, let's just start with degenerative. Means degrade, deplete, reduce function, kill, destroy, extract. And it's how humans are currently operating on this planet. We see it's indicated by this symbol in a diminishing curve. Sustainable means something is able to be used without being completely used up or destroyed. Maintained, right? Seems like a logical reaction to our degenerative tendencies. But when we look at it, it's trying to put back what we take out, trying to maintain what little we have left, and symbolized here as these arrows following each other. Regenerative means regrow, recreate, bring to its higher functioning state, and is not sustainable, and can be indicated by this outward spiral, starting with a degraded, diminished state, ever increasing in carrying capacity and function. Let's be clear. Life and life systems were not designed to sustain themselves. They're designed to regenerate. So let's look at the reality. Right now, we are here. We have broken the land, and 10,000 years of degradation, much of our land doesn't even work anymore. So, our goal cannot be to sustain. We can embrace and start regeneration. And then we can talk about sustainability, right? But I want you to look a little closer at this picture. When we talk about the big changes that are going to save humanity, it's not just going to be about, did everyone here get an electric car tomorrow? Or did we have a few more paper straws than plastic? The change that's really going to make or break us is if we change how we think about everything. The views we have, the lens we see the world through, and what we actually believe is possible. When we look at land, entire ecosystems, entire water cycles being broken, the best we can do with sustainable think is maintain and try to utilize something that is broken. So that means every advancement in technology, every innovation is just a Band-Aid instead of being a tool to help systems regenerate to their highest functioning state. It's like looking at a broken cup and not knowing what it was or how it worked, and then working really hard to try to have it function by sustaining the broken pieces. It sounds totally crazy, but that is what we're doing. Why don't we glue the cup back together? We know now that we can help regenerate and regrow and rebuild not just soil, but entire habitats and systems. What if we started applying this to all the other facets of our lives? What if we were looking at how we can help our communities regenerate to their highest functioning capacity? If the difference of these two fields is just how cows were moved on the land, think about the small adjustments or shifts we could make that could radically change entire societies and the entire world. The good news is we are starting to understand that we can move beyond sustaining to thriving. And when we talk about this in agriculture, when we look at building healthy soil, what we're really talking about is how much can we maximize photosynthesis, which is how much plants are pumping carbon into the ground to feed the microbes, who are making minerals available, making more water available, which make it so the plants can photosynthesize more and pump more sugar into the ground. More life begets more life. This is the regenerative outward spiral of life begetting life, which is creating structure and situations where more life happens, which more carbon pumping in. This is the regenerative spiral. What if our individual and collective lives were creating these regenerative spirals that weren't extracting from their original source, but actually expanding it? What if the laws of the ecosystem were starting to be applied to everything? Our communities, our lives, our farming, our schools, our medicine, our food systems, all of these things can be looked at through a regenerative lens, which allows us to not only see what's broken and not functioning, but also how we can start to create systems that are making improvement happen as a natural and perpetual state of their being. Now, to be clear, this view and lens was new to me. But for many people and cultures, it's not new at all. So how can we remember? How can we start to connect to what we've lost with our connection to the natural world and to each other? What are we serving? What are these stories that we're holding on to, and what stories are we willing to let go of, and what new stories are we willing to create? For centuries, we've been pushing profits and control. But with indigenous teachings and new discoveries, we are embracing interconnection as our new narrative. And we're getting that our actions are affecting future generations that we may never know. When I really started to get the potential and opportunity of regeneration, I got a new responsibility. I had the ability to respond by sharing this message. Each of us can find a unique responsibility. This movement is a combination of indigenous wisdom, of breakthroughs in holistic thinking, and cutting-edge scientific discoveries. It is all, and it needs all, from farming to childhood development to economics and government. We can find the pathways to a regenerative world if we choose. So the plan: start learning, start sharing, start connecting, and start acting. Regeneration on all fronts needs me, and it needs each one of you. Together, we can do this. Let's start offering our children and our grandchildren a different path where there's more purpose, more meaning, more opportunity, and a different idea of what success means, where a future of water wars, desertification, and billions of climate refugees isn't their destiny. We can and we must become the regenerative ancestors. I want this future for my daughter and for that grandchild dreaming her grandfather into existence. Thank you.